Michael Campbell, founder of the NASCAR Budweiser Cup Series League on Xbox Live, joined by
Cody Webster,
hoster and also co-founder of the league, and this is the first podcast where we will be breaking down all of the major things that are going on in the league and looking at some of the future things that will be going on for you drivers, and also going over your questions, because we do care about what you have to talk about, so we'll be answering your questions throughout this podcast.
Okay. So,
where do you want to start first?
I say we should go from what the league is going to go and try to go into, evolve into.
Well, as many of the league racers already know, earlier this month we had our announcement of the evolution of the Budweiser Cup Series, from the name change to some of the new tracks we'll be visiting. We will be going to Indianapolis, Pocono in Pennsylvania, and also Michigan for the first time in our league's history. So it's going to be a very competitive schedule next year. And the name of the league is actually changing as well. It'll become the Extreme Pro Series, NXPS for short. And also the All-Star Race will be moving each year that the league exists. So we'll be going to Richmond for the first year of the new XPS series. I think that some of these changes will definitely add excitement and kind of diversify the league. You want some diversity in the tracks, especially when you got a lot of fast competitors like we have now.
Especially the All-Star Race next season, too, at Richmond. That's going to be a new place, more excitement, short track racing, so who knows, the new format, might change up with some things next season.
It's going to change some things, and when I was looking at, as we move forward with this league, one of the big things I wanted to do was keep things interesting for our drivers. So that's one of the things we did earlier this season with implementing the heat races, which we'll go into some depth about that, why that actually came out a little later. But adding the heat races, adding an extra element to the racing actually gives you a chance to practice, but also gives you an incentive to kind of try and win, because as you saw earlier in the season, those heat race wins actually came into play for some of those lucky few that actually got some. They made the All-Star race automatically. So I guess let's go into where we came from and where we are now.
We both basically had the same idea.
A very small league. Emphasis on the word small. Just saying.
Very, very small.
It was only supposed to be, in my vision, maybe like 8 to 10 people. And then this guy comes along and starts strong-arming me, and the league starts to grow. Pretty much
fan base just grew big time.
And
with Facebook and everything.
And again, that really came through. The growth started from the use of social media. So our presence through the website, which of course when we post this to YouTube, you'll have the link to that in the description down below. LeagueNTG.webs.com for all your league racing needs. We also have the Facebook page as well. You can like that so you can get all the same news right there in front of you. And we also have a Twitter page being managed by one of our league racers, Brandon Lee. He's doing a great job keeping everyone informed by 140 characters or less.
He's here, invisibly. He's here with our soul. So he's not technically right here.
He's not in my soul, but he's...
Well, he's with...
Yeah. Okay.
You'll understand.
No, I don't understand, but I'll accept it.
Okay, thank you. So we're small little thing that was going to try to stay small, I think you want to say.
The league, I never expected to reach a level where we had, I think we've approached 30 drivers. We've had 30 different drivers in the league. Should be a little bit over 30 different drivers compete at some point during the league. Now, that can mean they've only made one start. We've had some drivers make 1 or 2 starts
and they drop out.
They drop out. But we consistently average about 15 drivers.
Racing in the main races, we have like 14 people.
Right.
In range from like 12 to 14 people, so. It's grown, and it's very competitive.
Which, one of the questions we'll have later in the podcast actually asks about how we're going to handle the continued growth of this league. As we saw more drivers come in, the issue arose that we had so many drivers and not enough spots for them. That's why we had to implement the heat race system, which that got some very interesting feedback when we first put it in place. But I think the heat races actually have enhanced the league further because...
I believe so.
Yeah, it's a short race. There's, I'm not mistaken, there is no wear for that, right?
There is no wear. It's just if you know how to drive.
I should know because I've raced these and I won 2 of them. Apparently, I just like get in my car and just not pay attention and leave.
And
explains why I don't win very much.
It just shows what kind of skill you have. Obviously you need to have skill with the wear too, but if you know how to drive a car and you know how to drive the car well, you should do well in the heat races and get your way into the main race. So.
Which you brought up wear. One of the big things that people have asked about is wear. Some leagues have actually done ×3 wear, some have done no wear. We decided to go with the ×2. The reasoning behind that is when we first created this league, it was supposed to be 50% races. So when you do the math, 50% of a race, might as well go and you're cutting your tire and fuel consumption in half. So that's why we went with ×2. We found out that NASCAR game, they wanted us to go to bed a little sooner. Nice way to put it. They wanted us to get to bed a little earlier, so they're like, do 20% instead. So we decided to do 20%, but we kept the wear the same. The reason for that is you don't really want to have the skill be in the hands of the driver, but you also want there to be that element of strategy. So there needs to be the handling of the car in terms of how your drivers are handling it, but also you need to be able to think in the back of your mind, do I have enough gas mix to the end? Can my tires actually survive this? As we saw in Infineon, actually, can my engine survive?
Yeah, for some reason would let you change grill tips. So.
That's not, for the record, that is not our fault.
Yeah,
there's not much we can do about that, but I finished 5th. I'm fine with that.
I finished 4th, 3rd,
something like that.
Yeah.
I guess
from a small little league that we started at,
yeah,
and now we're big, and now it's getting to the point where it's actually getting almost bigger to the point
right.
Our site, it'd be
our site is costing money.
Our site is going to be costing us money because it's overloading.
Which I have no problem with that. I work hard in managing the site. I'm also a webmaster for the Facebook and the website. What are you pointing at yourself for?
No, I was just...
I thought you were like, no, I do that. No.
No, I'm not that sophisticated. You know me. I can only host rooms and host rooms.
Well, the interesting story behind the reason why I do all this stuff with the website, back in the days of NASCAR 09, which...
we had great websites.
Well, it even goes further than that. Like, when it came to NASCAR 09, the only way I learned how to design websites and create the graphics you see, I painted cars. That taught me all the techniques I needed to know, and then I kept building on that. And, well, after y'all finish racing at like 9 o'clock, I'm on the website until about 11 o'clock watching Raw and updating the site so y'all have something interesting to read. I'm sorry that I come off like a crazy, insane actor/drunk. Sorry. It's just my persona. What can I say?
With all that said...
Yes, that's a lot of words that were said there.
Yes, a lot of words. Not much about me, but it's all good.
See what I have to deal with. Just saying.
So we got what we want to happen in Season 2. The only thing we haven't brought up yet is obviously the Gen 6 cars. They're clearly not out yet. And we clearly don't know how much they're going to be. And our Season 1 is looking to end around like the second week of May, and we already discussed that we're gonna have at least maybe 2-3 weeks off, 3, 4,
3, 4,
okay, yeah.
Hopefully 4. I need a break
until Season 2, which would be basically going to start until like mid-June.
Right.
But we don't know if we're gonna use the Gen 6 cars because we don't know how much they are, how many people are gonna buy them, and if it's gonna cause lag.
Well, when it comes to Gen 6 cars, that's where the big thing I have with running this league is that's where feedback from the drivers comes into play. I believe in really communicating with the drivers. I don't like making decisions without consulting the drivers. So that's why I do a lot of outreach. I'm asking them about their concerns, their thoughts on things that they can do that we can do better for the league. The Gen 6 cars are going to have to be something we look into. I don't want to...
how they drive differently.
Yeah,
if they do, I highly doubt they will. I think, to be honest, they probably should drive the same way. When
it comes to the Gen 6 cars, looking at them, we don't want to put people in a position where they're being forced to, or we have to force people to pay money to compete in the league. That's not quite the direction I want to go. But at the same time, if we get a strong majority that says, hey, we're going to buy them anyway, we don't mind using them, we can transition to the Gen 6 cars. But I'll go ahead and say now, at this moment, the next season is based on using the cars that are provided in the game already. You have to wait and see how the Technics handle things on their end, and then once they release the Gen 6 cars and the patch, we'll be able to go in, test just like we did before the league started, be able to get in there, see how they drive, do some tests, and go from there. But we'll definitely be reaching out to the drivers to get their feedback on that.
Alright.
Definitely. There. 3.
There's probably only one thing I want to mention.
Just one?
Okay, I got a lot of mind-blowing things in my head right now, but not really going to say all of them, because we don't have time for that. There's one thing that...
He doesn't have enough time for that, just saying. That's a shout-out.
Yeah, it is a shout-out. But there is one thing I do want to bring up, and that is the qualifying.
Yes.
Now, I tried my best to qualify everyone at their time frame, but you got to realize that we also have complications with our schedule too.
Correct.
So,
being Batman is very difficult for me.
So, what I'm going to try to do, well, what I will do, is be putting up an event calendar for qualifying weekly and put certain number of rooms, alright? I'm not going to go out of my way just to qualify one person, but I will put it at reasonable time for you guys so you guys do have time to qualify. Maybe 1-2 rooms a day, so you got to figure Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You got 4 days. You know, I'm going to give you 4 chances, 4 or 5, maybe 6 chances to qualify. But I'm going to give you the time. I'm not going to make time for you. I'm going to give you the time, and you pick one that you want to go into. It's still going to be 30-minute qualifying and everything. I hope you guys enjoy that. But that's how it's going to go, and I'm going to hopefully that'll be better, so I don't have to, you know, wait on Xbox like 24/7 just for like one person to get on. Like if you don't qualify by Sunday midnight, around there, I don't know if I'm going to stay up until midnight all the time, but you get the point. You're basically not competing in like the heat races, so that's how it will go.
I mean, this kind of situation arises when we have, again, as we said earlier, unprecedented growth. This growth was unexpected. That's why we had to transition to this type of qualifying, and then we have to do qualifying early because we have so many people, and that requires us to do heat races. Those heat races have to be before the main race, so it can be a bit of a rush job to try and get everything together and have it all organized by Monday. A perfect example of this was Watkins Glen, actually, when we had to end up moving up the entire weekend. We moved the heat race to Sunday and had to run the race that Monday. So it's one of those situations where, while I understand the drivers are busy as well, the administrators have to actually do things in there as well to prep for this. Like, I have to do graphics and make sure everything's ready to go with stories for the website, because, let me tell you, our league is delightful, and my stories I write, again, I'm so sorry I come off as a drunk, crazy actor who is starring in the new movie with The Rock coming up. You should go see it, one of the extras. That does take a lot of time. I have a blast doing it, and it does make me happy that all y'all are visiting the site, visiting the Facebook, liking it up. That's great. But I think having a schedule so you can kind of see, hey, we're qualifying on these times, helps you out, because you can say, I'm going to get on for a few minutes, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to go play Minecraft and mine some crap or something like that.
Even though it's a game.
That's not the time nor place, thank you.
Or
you could be playing My Little Pony. I don't know what you could be doing, but you can set up your time and your schedule.
My Little Pony. Okay, now
you never know.
That's even worse.
Our league caters to everyone, so again, that schedule, we'll be starting that up. It'll let you see and basically be able to manage your time, so you're not just sitting there going, I hope one of the administrators is on. You'll know when we're on, and you'll be able to make your schedule work for us, too, as well.
Trying to think, anything else that really is a problem in the league as of now?
I mean, I don't see problems in the league, per se. I mean, as with anything, as with any venture, there are going to be growing pains, especially when you're managing a league that's holding average 15 to 20 people per week. There are going to be issues, but we try and resolve those pretty easily amongst us, amongst the administrative staff, which is essentially the two of us, but also reaching out again to the drivers. I'm always wanting to talk to the drivers, ask them questions, especially when things happen on the track. That's why I do want to reiterate one thing. When things happen on the track, when I start asking questions, rest assured I'm not accusing you of anything at that point. When I'm asking lots of questions, I'm trying to make sense of what happened so I can understand exactly what happened before we take action. That's what I'm trying to do. So that's why I began, unfortunately, when we had some of these situations, we're very transparent about that. We explain what happened in the situation, what action was taken, and then what corrective action will be taken. Like you saw the process, there were appeals made, appeal was successful, but there were corrective actions made based on that. So I believe in being very open and connecting with the drivers. I just, when it comes to looking at how we do things, there are going to be issues, there will be growing pains, but I don't see anything major that's going to hinder the league. I mean, it's basically we need to make sure we're staying in tune, but also make sure we're keeping up with what everyone wants to do as well. It needs to be interesting. That's rules 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 of the league.
Have fun.
Have fun. That's all I really care about.
Speaking about rules.
Oh, Jesus.
No, I mean, basically what we're just going to do
How I break them all the time.
No. How we're just going to expand on the rules and kind of maybe not make them so general. So if, like, something happens, you obviously can find out how come you got penalized and whatnot. The rules are pretty general right now. I mean, that's basically probably my fault. We weren't, like we said, we weren't looking for the league to grow so big, so we just kind of kept them general. But now that it's big, we need to kind of just expand and let everybody know if they do this wrong, you're gonna get in trouble, So.
Unlike the sport of NASCAR, though, you'll be able to see the rule book and understand exactly what's going on, and you won't be slapped with penalties for simply being, quote, detrimental to the sport
right.
of, what is it, detrimental to the sport of stock car auto racing? Yes.
I don't know, but I guess you can say the cars suck in this game, you won't get penalized. It's all good. So, I mean, I know Denny Hamlin.
No, you're going to get penalized. I will penalize you. Don't say our cars suck.
Oh yeah, if you say you hate ladies in the sport, you won't get penalized either. So, or you won't get suspended. It's all good. But
But if you go over the top with your nonsense, there may be consequences.
Maybe a little slap on the
But this is America as well, so.
Yeah,
all right.
that's true.
Okay, let's go ahead and.
Before we do anything,
he does this to me on Xbox, where he just shuts me down. So it's great that this is translating to YouTube. Fantastic.
And unpainful.
Fantastic. Continue.
And the website. Anyway, so we're gonna, in this next segment, we're gonna answer your questions on what you have, I guess, for league stuff and personal stuff. So
Not get too personal. Just saying.
I want to hit him. But we're gonna try to answer everything to the best ability and probably expand a little bit on certain questions. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video thus far.
Welcome to the Q&A portion of the podcast, where we'll be answering your questions that you have provided to us. And thanks for the questions. We're always wanting to hear from the drivers, as I rambled about in the other portion of the podcast. Let's jump right in. The question I like the most, we want to get out the way. Championship contenders. We're going to split this up. We'll look at championship contenders for the Sprint Cup Series. That just wrapped up today. We had Bristol. And we'll look at our league.
Okay, which one do you want to go first?
Let's go ahead and jump right into Sprint Cup. It's, for me, it's kind of hard to call right now. Everything seems pretty even.
What are we, 5 races and 4 races in?
About 4 races, yeah. About 4 races in, no one's really standing out. Of course, your normal Jimmy Johnson right now.
He had 3 in a row that would, 3 races in a row that would perfectly.
Yeah. Then he had his minor issues, and had his issues today. But, of course, you'll be looking at Jimmy Johnson possibly being a contender to win a championship. I think after falling behind for the last 2 years, I think this will be the year where he understands what he needs to work on and move forward. And it seems that Hendrick generally is able to catch on when it comes to vehicle transitions.
Just like we did in 2007.
Yeah, when we transition to the car tomorrow, Hendrick seems to be a step ahead of everyone when it comes to transition to these new cars. And these Gen 6 cars may play directly into Jimmy Johnson's hands this year. I think the only other person I could say, I'm not going to pick a person, but actually a team, I think, even though I want to go out on a limb, Joe Gibbs Racing could probably actually give him a run. Look at Kyle Busch. I cannot believe I'm making this statement, but I'm just going to go ahead and be out there with it. Look at how Kyle Busch handled the speeding penalty today.
He's had how many already?
He's had several. I don't know the exact number, but he's had several already.
In both series?
Yes. And looking at Sprint Cup, where he's competing, he had the penalty. He was able to rally back, and he finished where? Second? They had to rally back. If that team can keep that kind of determination, they can eliminate mistakes like that, they can be a serious contender especially after the weak season they had last year. Very uncharacteristic how they acted last year. So I think possibly Kyle Busch could probably do it this year.
Thank you, Mike. But in my case, I like Jimmy Johnson, but I'm going to go against him. I think the person that stands out is Casey Kane. He's been on a roll. If you look last year, what did he wreck like so many times, like in the first like 5 or 6 races?
He
came back
and
finished high in the standings.
Yeah.
And showed what kind of power he has underneath that car, and showed what type of driver he is. He's going to be one to look for, and I think if he doesn't win the championship, finish second or third. Another person who I can think of, I'm going to go along with you with the Joe Gibbs bandwagon over here. I'm going to go Matt Kenseth.
Oh, yeah.
He looked very powerful. He looked like he was going to win the race today. Of course, bad luck for him, and got swept up in Jeff Gordon's blown tire, which he shouldn't have stayed out on his tire. But never mind that. He's going to be a really strong contender, and I feel like with your case with Kyle Busch, Kyle's just going to be Kyle, and just going to ruin his chances later on in the season. So I don't see anything happening. I feel like Denny Hamlin's just going to get taken out by Joe Logano every week. So that's my case. So my 2 picks for the championship are Casey Kane and Matt Kenseth. So.
Okay. Now let's go ahead and switch over and turn on our Xboxes and look at our league, the NBCS/NXPS. Yeah. Okay. Championship contenders.
You want me to go first?
Actually, I'll let you go first on this. Go ahead. What do you think?
Well, we got the new rising star of Helios coming in.
Jesus
He's strong.
Oh, yes.
He's
fast.
Yes. He has capability of proving that he's fast, but he's not going to get it. Sorry. I'm
really.
As myself,
Elaborate.
Why he's not going to get it?
Yes.
His ego's going to get to him. Sorry, Helios. I'm just saying. Anyway, so moving on. That's short and sweet, right? So moving on, I'm gonna have to say, since I'm the points leader, I'm not gonna pick myself. I actually, to be honest, don't think I have as much talent as the guy I'm gonna pick right now. I'm gonna pick Ice Red Bull, my teammate. He's consistent all in that. He doesn't win every week, but he's always there, leading laps, and he's consistent. So I think he'll win, and if he does not win, then there might be a small possibility that Helios might win. But I'm putting all my money on Ice Red Bull.
But the thing is, Helios has to get into the chase first.
That's my point. That's why I said he won't win.
He needs to get up to a certain level in the standings before he can even be considered for a wild card as well.
That is very true.
So there's that.
But my pick is Ice Red Bull.
My pick is myself. Here's why I'm going to win I'm kidding.
That's pretty impressive.
Looking at the league and looking at all the drivers we have a lot of talent in this league. And as the league has grown, the talent has just stepped up. Looking at some of the drivers we have, there are a couple that do stand out to me. Ice Red Bull is one of them, because even before y'all became teammates, he was making a name for himself. He was, again, always consistent. He was generally finishing in top 5. He broke through, got that critical win at he got 2 in a row, didn't he, at one point?
Yes, he did get 2
won
in a
at
row.
Auto Club,
and he came back in
Vegas.
In our team and won.
So he's able to be there in certain situations. He's always a threat to win. And if he can't win, he finds a way to finish in the top 3, top 4, which, as we saw in the championship battle with Tony Stewart and Carl Edwards, it was a battle of consistency versus wins. And you notice that race was neck and neck.
The wins got it.
The wins got it, but notice the consistency was right there as well.
Right on top.
So, if you can't win races if you're not going to win a championship by purely winning races, you may be able to do it Ice Red Bull's way of being a consistent threat at every track that he goes to. So, even as we go to Martinsville this week, I'm expecting to see some really close racing during the race between just all the drivers, particularly Ice Red Bull and maybe even Helios. I know he's racing for that chase spot, and he's made it clear that's his objective. He wants that chase spot. He wants a championship.
He can't race his way in without. He needs that wild card because he's 200 points out in 5 races. He would have to win every single one, and hopefully someone just doesn't show up, which is highly unlikely.
one of those situations where it makes for interesting storylines. Like, for example, as we talk about the championships, our top 6 are separated by about less than 50 points. And as you look at the top 8, that cutoff point for getting into the chase, it's tied right now. So that should make you very proud of the driver to see that the league is that competitive and there's now a drive. There is a pure competition right now to get into the chase. And as we get closer and as we start to go to some of these wild card tracks, such as Talladega, that's next week, if I'm not mistaken, right? Head to Talladega, and then we also head to New Hampshire as well, and the final stretch before we head to Richmond. You're going to see some very, very, very good racing for the championship for these chasers.
I agree.
Another question?
Yeah, another question.
All right. Let's change it up a little. Let's go back to the Sprint Cup Series, and let's flashback to Bristol.
About maybe like 2 hours ago?
About 2 hours ago. As we were sitting around watching the race and joined by thousands at the track itself, we were all wondering, Hamlin's doing really well. And then
He tried the NASCAR, the game thing, or maybe NASCAR 9 thing.
NASCAR 9, actually,
NASCAR 9.
where I think he had an issue, and he's just like, screw the rules, I'm not pitting, and he decided to wall ride, and I honestly think it startled the commentators at some point. What is your take on how Hamlin handled that 10-lap segment of, do you think he should have came in and just hit the car?
I just look back, to the days where I think, where was it, Kansas, when Jimmy Johnson and Carl Edwards was racing.
Yeah.
Carl Edwards wanted it all. He decided he wanted to try the wall ride, so he drove right by Jimmy Johnson and slammed the wall. And said, I thought it would work. It works in the NASCAR games. So, go back to Denny Hamlin. You have a problem. You got 10 laps left. You pit. Then you lose like, 4 laps, trying to, 3, 4 laps, trying to do something.
Bristol, 15
I mean, what, he ended up losing like 2 laps, 2.5 laps?
Yeah.
Okay, so he finished 20-something rather than finishing, like, I'd say, near 30th. I think his situation, what he did, was pretty well. I mean, NASCAR was probably, like, questioning why is there a guy banging into the wall every single corner. I mean, he was only going, like,
he was
80
going
into, like, the corner and still hitting the wall.
Yep, just trucking it.
Just touching. And you heard it, because they still had the audio from inside of his car, and every time he went inside the corner, you hear, just bang the wall, and he kept on going. Bang the wall.
So what you're saying is, it was a smart move for him to go and stay out.
It made me smile. I liked it.
He should have stayed out and got those points. That was really cool.
I would have went a little faster, though. I mean, it probably would have flattened the side of his car, but
probably.
Actually, to be honest, like, I would have went a little faster, so put a caution out, end the race pretty wildly. But yeah, I would have went a little faster.
Okay.
Or I would have started at the beginning of the corner wall and just try to ride the whole entire way. You know what I mean? So that's a good one.
Just so you know, remember, he got in the way of Danica Patrick.
I know, they were freaking out. They were like, oh my god, Danica almost got plowed into him.
He got in the way of Danica
Patrick, you already hit someone today. You had a dent on your nose, obviously, and you were going slow, so I don't even know what the hell's going on. Whatever. They didn't say enough about... No, actually, they didn't really say that much about Danica. I was actually happy. I actually smiled during the race, except the commentators today just...
You're very
They tried to use big words, and when they tried to use big words, they stuttered on almost every single one. Not only that, when the Bush brothers are in 34th, and I think it was Darrell Waltrip that said it, I don't know who said it, they're battling for 2nd and 3rd.
Correct.
No. And then you read off that Jimmy Johnson's in 4th, but you forgot about the leader. They're in 3rd and 4th. Jimmy Johnson's in 5th. You read the whole entire top 10 wrong, and you forgot about the leader that was 3 seconds ahead.
It's not their fault, though. You know why? Because
they're retarded.
Even the technology was acting up for them today.
Okay.
Their tickers were acting up.
The ticker was just racing. They were racing,
The telemetry monitor was actually having some issues, and at one point, everyone ended up a lap down.
But no, the thing that gets me is they spoke about the leader, like a lap before they spoke about the Bush brothers. And then they forget about the leader? Oh, not only that, they called like several people like different names today. Several people.
Oh.
They said that Josh Wise was in the 34 car, but no, he's in the 35. I don't even know. Like, they really need to get their act together. I don't like Fox. I don't like anything. They should just shut up. I just want to hear the cars drive. That's all. They sound really nice.
And that was Cody's Corner. Today's rant, Fox Broadcasting.
That was a
That was a very, very nice, but not as angry as I thought it would be, rant.
No,
So-
I was angry earlier.
Okay.
You know I was angry. I told him to shut up several times.
He was. All right. Let's jump into this next one. Least favorite and most favorite driver. Sprint Cup Series.
No, let's make it short and sweet. You want me to go?
Sure. Why not?
My favorite driver, I mean, on Facebook is Kevin Harvick. Like, obviously, you've seen it all over. Kevin Harvick. Reason being is because I used to like Dale Earnhardt, and I was, I was like 7 years old when Dale Earnhardt passed away. I mean, like, I was hysterical when he passed away because he was my favorite driver. But then, in a few weeks later, and they rolled out Kevin Harvick's car. Well, actually, a week later, they rolled out Kevin Harvick's car, and then I watched Kevin Harvick win a few weeks later. You know, I was just like, oh, I'm transitioning into his ride. Like, I like Kevin Harvick because he took over Dale Earnhardt's car. So, kind of, you know, that's why I like Kevin Harvick. Least favorite driver. Oof. A lot of them out there.
Jeez.
No. Oof, man.
Take your time.
That's really, really, really hard. And that is what she said.
Really?
Yes, I had to.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
The audience is even laughing at you. I can't believe you went there.
I say Kyle Busch, obviously.
Kyle Busch. Okay.
But I don't really hate him that much anymore. I just don't. Come on. He gets second place, and then he's complaining about it. Like, shut up. You're making how much?
Cash. Lots of cash.
Like, I just want to kick him in the face. Look at Pee Wee Herman. I mean, he used to look worse.
Here we go.
Like, I'm not gonna rant about Kyle Busch. It's gonna be bad. And then I'm gonna get all the Kyle Busch haters on me.
Jesus Christ.
Anyway.
With me, my favorite driver is Brian Keselowski. Not Brad, Brian. Just let that sink in for a minute for you. Oh, crap. Actually, my favorite driver is Tony Stewart. I followed Tony Stewart when I was younger. When he first came in, I thought he was awesome. I liked the Home Depot car. Really, really childish reasons for liking him. As I got older, I just liked his personality and just how he carries himself. I've met him several times, actually. He's a really cool guy and just awesome to talk to in person. So I really, really like interacting with him, and that's why he's my favorite driver, even when he blows a tire on lap 9 and it's a wrap.
It's okay.
Very early.
Yeah.
It's alright. Least favorite driver. I feel like if I go with that one, it's just too easy.
I'm guessing my least
Yes,
favorite.
but I have a valid reason because I've met him and I've interacted with him as well at Dane Hamlin's short track showdown. It was the second year that he had it. I was in the pits working on one of the crews, and he
doesn't carry himself very well.
No, and
He just a baby.
Just some of the way he interacted with some of the fans there who were wanted to talk to him. I didn't appreciate. I mean,
that was in his younger ages.
Yeah.
I don't know if he even matured. I mean, it does seem like he cleaned up his act a little bit, but I still don't like him.
That's the main reason.
Yeah,
but let me put it this.
Sorry.
I will not doubt his talent as a driver. He's a phenomenal driver, but it's some of the ways he carries himself that don't personally agree with the way I carry myself.
Oh, granted, I do hate him. I still pick him on my fantasy team.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Well, how'd you finish again this week?
First, second, third, and 8th.
# I am mad, bro. Just throwing it out there.